Another common thing about survivors of childhood abuse is that they never fully developed emotion regulation skills when they were little. I heard something the other day that said that trying to develop emotional regulation skills while being abused is like trying to learn how to swim while you're drowning. It just doesn't happen. It's not possible to develop those skills because what children need to do is have little tiny surmountable stressors as they're going through their childhood that they're able to, with the help of their parents, soothe themselves and get themselves through the stressor in order to move on to bigger stressors so that when they become an adult and they lose their job or get a divorce or things that life just throws at them, they're then able to move through them and have confidence that they'll be able to overcome these stressors. When a child is severely abused and thrown into overwhelming stressors that they have no way of being able to regulate or help themselves through because they don't have supportive parents, then they never fully develop regulation skills, and everything feels as though it's overwhelming and they're not ever going to be able to overcome it. But by talking through their trauma memories, making meaning of what happened and connecting those narrative memories to the affect that they're feeling, the terror, the dread, the intense rage, by connecting those two, they're able to develop some confidence in being able to regulate their own emotions. Survivors also come together to talk about areas of their life that are challenging because of the trauma. For example, a lot of survivors rely on regulation strategies like overeating, drinking, using drugs. A lot of these things are strategies that survivors turn to try to regulate all of those feelings because they don't actually have the regulation skills that they need. I myself have seen people come into ASCA that were extremely dependent on alcohol or dependent on prescription medication in order to help them regulate all the feelings that they had. And slowly going through ASCA and going through a recovery process, they're able to develop some emotional regulation skills, and the need for those other things, alcohol and drugs, slowly kind of fade away. The structure of the meeting allows the members to speak uninterrupted, decide whether or not they'd like to speak, and whether or not they want to receive supportive feedback. I think a major purpose of that is to give the survivor a sense of empowerment and connection to their own decision making, and to be able to have a sense of being in a safe environment where they get to decide what's going to happen for them, and whether or not they would like to participate in all the parts of the meeting. The other thing about the meeting is that receiving disparate experiences, having people validate your experience, having someone say to you, I relate, and like, I'm sorry, and I totally understand what you went through. Having that kind of experience from the outside world allows survivors to start challenging what they were told as a child and how they were made to feel. And then by sharing these stories and seeing that others have similar stories, survivors can start addressing the shame that they feel and start to feel better about themselves and realize through connecting their narrative that shame was a product of what their parents did to them and not a product of their characterological standing. ASCA, one of the most important parts of ASCA is that it provides a human connection where connection didn't exist in their childhood at all. When children are abused, they are not being connected to empathetically by their parents. Their experience is not registered by the parent at all. It's almost as if their self does not exist. And so they are extremely deprived of any kind of human contact. And humans just can't survive without human contact. And that's why survivors have to develop all these defenses and distance themselves from actually being touched by humans when they're adults. So coming together in this environment allows survivors to actually be contacted by other people and be related to and have the experience of being loved and being treated like a human, where they didn't get that in their childhood at all. And to add,